Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Breakthrough series. Today, I'm joined with Eddie Knezevich. He is, as some call him, the #1 financial planner in real estate. And I'm really excited to hear his incredible success. He's been doing this for a while and his journey along the way and learning about your insights, what you've learned, and getting people an opportunity to understand the things that they might not know about you, the interesting facts. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what does it take? You mentioned you have a pretty large team. You've started from nothing. You work with literally hundreds and hundreds of real estate professionals. What does it take to be Eddie Knezevich in the flesh today?
That is a loaded question. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, tears, time, energy, resources, and I always tell people I wouldn't be where I'm at if it weren't for the amazing people that are around me. So like I always say that you're only as good as your team, and fortunately, throughout the years, I have taken a very Steve Jobs approach to my business, and I've always hired people that are smarter than me, that are more capable, that are better than me. And so I think that a lot of the successes that I've had over the years are, in part because I had a belief and I had a chip on my shoulder, but what actually propelled me forward was the people that are around me that have been integral to that growth and um, everything that we do on a daily basis.
So taking you back for a little bit, when you were growing up, did you know that you wanted to be here, that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, have a business? Because you mentioned you had a couple different things you tried. You worked at a corporate company. What were your sights on? Like, what were you dreaming about when you were growing up?
Yeah, so I'll take you back. So I grew up, if people don't know about me, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. And I grew up in New Albany, which it's funny, we reside there now, but at the time when I was a child, it was a farm town turning into a country club town. And we were the poor people in town. So I grew up single parent household. My mom was in the LGBTQ community, which was very weird because this was the 90s and going into the 2000s, and like being gay wasn't acceptable at the time yet. So I was the only kid with a gay mom. um, my mom worked a corporate job with tween brands, and then in the nighttime, she would cut grass for the kids that I grew up with, their parents' homes, just to keep us in the school system because like we were legitimately poor. So like growing up, it was really weird because like I was always the poor kid, and I also had the gay mom, and I didn't have my dad wasn't really in the picture at all, and it was me, my mom, and my sister, and we lived in this place where large amounts of money were getting thrown around, but, like, we weren't used to it, we weren't accustomed to it. So when I was growing up, when I started to have friends and I started to go stay at their homes and see these palatial houses and these beautiful cars, I got early on, from an early age, I got really attracted to wealth. I got really attracted to status, money, opulence, different things like that, because I had never seen it before. And so when I would go over to my friends' houses as a little kid, I would spend more time with their parents
Mhm.
and picking their brains and, hey, how'd you get this? And, the common theme that I quickly realized was these people, some of them were really intelligent people, but some of them were not so intelligent.
Mhm.
They were just hard workers. And
Yeah.
so, like, what I realized was like, what you always hear about the American dream, like this country is built on hard work and on the blood, sweat, and tears of hard workers.
Mhm.
And that's really kind of what I was instilled early on in my mom. uh, you know, uh, Even though we weren't well off, she always made sure that, food, clothes, the bare necessities were always there, and we never had to worry about them.
Yeah.
So like I was just from a young age, I thought, hey, when I get out of school, when I go out on my own, when I get into the real world, if college is there for me, awesome. If it's not, I'm gonna work my butt off,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna get to that level because, again, I might not be the smartest guy in the room, but some of the people that I've been around, even as a child, I'm looking at some of these people's parents. I'm like, they're not that sharp, but they're wealthy beyond all belief.
Just
So,
people.
just people. We're all just people, right?
Mhm. So, as you're growing up, you're seeing, these parents in New Albany. It's inspiring you. You're realizing that they're not necessarily that much different. They're just people,
Yeah,
which it seems like that's giving you the opportunity to think, "Well, if they can do it, why can't I?"
correct.
So, did you decide, well, like, what path did you decide to follow? Did you end up going to school and then say, "I'm gonna do this," or what was the game plan for you, if you had one?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So, originally, I was going to leave and go away for school. I was gonna go down to Florida. I was gonna I'd gotten into a private education center down in Florida. I was getting ready to graduate,
Mhm,
and um, I my mother was actually having some struggles with my little sister. My little sister was about 3 years younger than me, and she was 15 about to turn 16. I was 18 about to turn 19, and she kinda gave me a little bit of a cry for help and was like, "Hey, like, I really want you to stay around here, like, the family needs you." And, again, growing up with, like, a small family unit, that put a lot of pressure on me, and so and also at the same time, 2 of my best friends ended up going to Ohio State, so it was like, go out of state, start over, like, run away from your past, and start everything fresh in a new place, or help out the small amount of family that I have, stay here, figure it out, and go from there. So I ended up deciding to stay. I went to Ohio State. Um, it and it was a really great decision for me for a number of reasons. The school that I would have went to would have been a really awesome school, would have helped me out
mhm,
networking wise, and it would have been an awesome fresh start. But so I ended up going to Ohio State. I originally when I got into college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So my first major in college was um I went into school and I was pre-optometry.
what does that mean?
So eye doctor.
Oh,
So I wanted to be an eye doc. And I got into it and I realized quickly that I was never a good math student. Kind of funny, I'm managing a lot of people's money, but I wasn't a good math student. Trig, calc, all that kind of stuff.
mhm,
Basic math's really simple, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, that kind of stuff. But this more advanced math, I wasn't very good at it. And all of those courses, they required that kind of,
mhm, yeah,
so I tried out pre-optometry for about a year and a half, got out of that. My father was in the oil and gas business, and when I was in my early 20s, I tried to bridge the gap that we had growing up, and so I went into um, geology. So I went from pre-optometry to geology, and I was trying to get into the oil and gas business. I realized it was so boring. I hated it. And so I tried that for about a year, realized I hated it. So I changed my major for a third time
wow,
when I was in college. And I ended up in political science. And the goal with political science was the study of people, the study of, groups. And I wanted to go to law school ultimately. Um, so I graduated from Ohio State in 5 years. It took me 5 full years. Along the way, I joined a fraternity when I was in college.
mhm,
And the fraternity I joined was pivotal to my future, both in school and out of school. So again, I kind of got involved with a group of like young guys,
mhm,
came from wealthy backgrounds, all had, the community aspect, and they all like leveled each other up, helped each other out. And so like I got through school because of my fraternity. When I graduated, I took the LSAT, and I think I got a one I think it was a 152 on my LSAT. I got into Capital Law, I got into Ohio State, and I had a good friend, um, and his family, he was from Bexley, he was a good buddy of mine, he's a couple years older than me, and he's an attorney here in town.
mhm,
And he had just graduated from Ohio State. He went to Florida for undergrad, went to Ohio State for law school, and he had told me his dad's name was on one of the buildings downtown, and he was like, "My dad's an attorney, owns his own firm. It's hard out here. Like, you're gonna struggle getting a job, and if you're his advice to me was, if you're leaving school debt free and you're not gonna use your law degree for, like, corporate something, or you're not gonna go, climb the ladder at a firm, don't waste your time on it. Like, it's gonna be a tough. And this was during 2010, 11, and 12 when the financial crisis had
mm,
just come on the tail end of it.
yeah,
Lawyers were actually there was a big squeeze in the industry where lawyers were, um, kinda getting, I don't wanna say pushed out, but it was just harder to become one at the time. There weren't a lot of jobs open in the market in that space. So he told me, he's like, "Dude, if I could give you any advice, don't go to law school. Go try out corporate America. Go get into business. Go do something." And honestly, it was probably the best advice I ever got. It's funny enough, I ended up introducing him to his wife many years later. But
that's
yeah, so he told me, he's like, "Don't go to law school. Like, go get into business.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if he remembers telling me that, but it was great advice. So I got my first job out of school, and I went and worked for a tech startup. And the tech startup was doing some unethical business.
Interesting.
Yeah, and within 90 days of being there, I just realized, like, this wasn't a fit. And I actually got let go from my first job. I got fired because I wasn't a cultural fit. And what I found out was that I didn't wanna drink the Kool-Aid. I was questioning everything they were doing, and they didn't like that.
Mhm.
And there were some big moral and ethical concerns about the type of business they were operating. And I don't even know if they're still in business. I think they've rebranded like 3 or 4 times. Um, so anyway, so I got out of that, got into corporate America, and I ended up at Designer Shoe Warehouse Corporate, DSW.
Mhm.
And I ended up in a marketing position. And similar story. Like I worked there for like just shy of a 6 months or a year, and it just wasn't working. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't having fun. I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt personally like I was doing everybody on the jobs or everybody on the team's job, and I felt like,
You were doing all of their jobs?
well, I didn't not all their jobs, but I just felt like I was doing more than my scope of work, but I wasn't getting any credit for it.
Mhm.
And so, we ended up parting ways, and at that point, I decided I was like, "I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do." I was in a serious relationship. Me and my ex-girlfriend at the time, we owned a condo out in New Albany. We had moved out to New Albany, out to the burbs, and, I looked her in the eyes and I was like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna take the next 6 months and figure it out." And, she wasn't a fan of that. Um, our relationship kinda went downhill from there, and I decided at the time, I didn't wanna work for anybody else. Whatever I was gonna do in the future, I wanted to do it for me, and I wanted to build it for myself, by myself, and, and so, yeah, that's when my entrepreneurial journey started.
That's incredible. So, yeah, almost it's very similar to a lot of people's journeys where you're like, you just have to try things. Like you tried going 3 or 4 different majors, then you went to law. What think about going to law school, then you went to corporate America, and then you had the DSW job. So, what happens in those 6 months? Like, how do you feel? Like, you have no clear target. You're just like, "I need to figure it out," which is, like, a big thing to ask of someone.
Yeah.
What did you end up trying? Like, what was your next step?
So it's funny. So I've always been, to this day, my wife will tell you guys, I'm obsessed with murder trials and court cases. Like that's probably why I wanted to go to law school. And so at the time, if you guys remember back in the day, there was a big trial out in Arizona. This woman named Jodi Arias, and she had stabbed her boyfriend like 23 times and ended up killing him. But it was a big trial because there was like a bunch of, she basically was claiming she was like this good, angel, and but anyways, she ended up getting convicted of murder. She's in prison for life, I believe. But anyway, during that time, I all I did was sat around and watch the trial every day. Like I know it sounds so lame, but I was like 23 years old. I was like, what else am I when else in life am I going to just get to sit around and watch court cases? So I literally sat around and watched court cases. While that was going on, I took a bunch of personality assessments, and then I hired a career consultant that was actually referred to me through um the New Albany Chabad Center. So a guy that was the he was the, rabbi. I think it was Manny Kaltman. I think Manny Kaltman. He introduced me to this career consultant. I ended up going and sitting down with her. She gave me a bunch of personality assessments, and she basically said, "Eddie, if you're gonna get into anything that you're gonna have success in, it's gotta be one of these 2 fields." The first field was medical device sales,
Mhm.
and the other one was financial service sales. And so
Why would she say that?
it was my personalities aligned most closely with those
Hmm,
types of job
okay.
descriptions. And so what ended up happening was I took a hard look at myself, and I have white coat fever. So like I go into the doctor's office, they have to check my blood pressure when I walk in. They got to check it when I leave because I hate doctor's offices. I hate hospitals. I hate needles. I hate blood. I hate guts. So I knew right away that would never work.
Mhm.
So I started diving in and looking at financial services. And what I realized, similar to real estate, was there was a lot of old people that were in the industry that were going to be out within the next 10 to 15 years. There was a lot of wealth second generation, first generation to second generation to third generation wealth transacting hands.
Mhm.
A lot of the kids that I grew up with were going to inherit large sums of money, um, and they had nobody that was in their corner helping them.
Mhm.
So I started to kind of see, and then I did some even deeper research, and I was like, if I could help a certain amount of people get to the next level, would that maybe be able to take me out of the situation that I started at when I was a child and maybe get me to the level that I've always wanted to be at?
Mhm.
So I started doing some research, and that's kind of what I ended up landing on. The challenge was, well, you got to pass all these, courses. You got to get all these licenses. So I was like, I'll go out, I'll try. If I can get these licenses, then we'll do it. So I took my first licensing exam in late 2012, and I passed it right away, first try. Second one, I failed. I took a different one the very next day, not the same test, but a different one that would allow me to still practice and get going. Passed it first try. So
Mhm.
that got my career started in financial services.
Mhm.
And so my first job in financial services, I worked for a company called Principal Financial Group. And they're a big insurance company based out of Des Moines, Iowa. They also have a big investment arm, very similar to Nationwide Insurance.
Mhm.
So they are like the Nationwide of Iowa.
Okay.
And big company, great company, had an awesome experience. I met my first mentor there. And she's actually she crushes it here in Columbus. Her name's Michelle Merkel. And another guy named Mel Rahoviak and another guy named Court Bradbury. So I had three people that I kind of went under their wing,
Yeah.
and they taught me the business. So they kind of gave me, the lay of the land. Hey, here's how to be honest. Here's how to be trustworthy. Here's how to gain trust. Here's how to build out your funnel. Here's how to, help people get what they want out of life, kind of like Zig Ziglar said. And then eventually you'll get what you want. And so literally I just started down my journey working alongside, in my opinion, the best and brightest in the business at the time. I did that for a couple years. I rose through the ranks, and um, I was doing well enough where I could like move out and support myself on my own, but I was still not doing great.
Mhm.
And so about 2.5 years into working for Principal, I decided that I wanted to uh, go out on my own, start my own business. So I went out, opened up my own office in downtown Columbus. And at the time, I was living in a basement apartment on Bryden Road and Ohio Avenue. So, like, this is back in 2014.
Mhm.
So, this was not a good neighborhood. It wasn't Old Town East that you know of today.
Yeah.
It was the bottoms. It was a crappy, there was gunshots outside of my apartment every night. I lived in a basement apartment. My rent was like 430, $440 a month, something like that. I had one stovetop burner that worked. I had no dishwasher, so I'd hand wash all my dishes, and the place was like mold infested. And it was just, me and my dog.
Mhm.
And my dog Cooper, who I still have to this day. But anyway, so I moved in there, and I started grinding, and I was like, Eddie, you were at rock bottom. Like, you couldn't get any lower than this. And by the way, I was driving a broke down Nissan Sentra at the time too.
Mhm.
And I always joke, I tell the guys that work for me now, I'm like, man, I miss that Nissan. But yeah, I would literally put on my suits every day, and I would go to, different business owners all across town's offices, and, pitch working with us versus, the other companies that are available out there in the market. And,
I had a question for you
go
with
ahead,
that.
go ahead.
But you come to them, let's say at that point, you have not much experience, not much to show for it. I'm sure that's the first thing they're gonna ask you, like, "Well, what can you do?" Like, what's your track record? How did you sell them on that? You're a young guy, not much past experience.
Yeah.
Like, why would they wanna give you your money? Like, how did that work for you?
Yeah, so I took the approach of just being honest, like, "Hey, like, I don't know a lot, but I've got this team around me. I've got people, resources from home office that they've been doing this for 20 to 30 years." I think when you're young and you're in real estate, financial services, I think the problem with our generation, my generation, your generation, is people try early on to be something they're not. And I think if more people were just honest, I think that's why people climb quickly.
Yeah.
So like what I tried that for the first year, and it didn't work. I tried to go in and be like, I'm the expert, I know everything. And like, I didn't know anything. I was an idiot. And then when I changed my approach and I went from I know everything to I know nothing, but you trust me, I can get things done. I'm a resourceful person. And I took that approach, I started to get more traction. I started to get more clients. while this was happening, literally, like, I was still so flat busted and broke, I was pledging my next paycheck at CheckSmart every single Friday. So, like, I wasn't bringing in enough revenue to keep the lights on. I was, like, just skirting by, like, just enough to get my dog some good dog food. I was still eating ramen noodles and hot dogs at this time. Um, it was a very humbling experience. So literally just believed in myself. I said, you can't go any further down than where we're at today.
Mhm.
We can only go up. And so literally that's kind of the approach that I took.
What is your approach to passion? Because a lot of people say you got to find your passion, something you're passionate about to be successful. You follow that. It seems like in your story, you didn't come to financial planning and advising out of passion. It was just like very logical, methodical. Okay, the the consultant said this is the role to take. I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna do it. How do you approach like that question? Do you follow your passion? Is it
So I did. So kind of a little bit of backstory. So like, you know, growing up poor, you don't have nobody taught us any of the stuff that I'm teaching people. So like I didn't have anybody that was like, "Hey, you need to save for retirement." Like my mom didn't start saving for retirement until she started working for me 9 years ago. So like, yeah, my mom's one of my employees now.
mm,
But
that's
like,
incredible? That's inspiring.
yeah, so my entire it's kind of interesting. So now my entire family works for me. My mom works for me, my sister works for me. So I have my entire family on payroll. I own their homes. Um, but when we started out, like when I started in financial services, the reason why I chose that path was two reasons. One, because high total addressable market, first and foremost. Second of all, um, very high attrition. People don't make it in the industry. They fail out really quickly. Huge opportunity for setting yourself up for financial future, but the biggest thing is impact. So I didn't have people to teach me what to do, how to balance a checkbook, which credit cards to get, which ones to stay away from, how to leverage debt, how to leverage financing, how to leverage lines of credit against assets you own. Um, I didn't have anybody teach me, which car do you buy or do you lease? If you're in X situation versus Y situation. So nobody taught me any of that stuff. So it was all self-taught. And once I had the knowledge, once I had the information, I wanted everybody in the world to know it because our education system is very flawed with finances. Um, the only exposure that I had to finances was in high school as a junior at New Albany. They made us take a accounting and finance course. Outside of that, in college, I didn't learn any of this stuff,
Mhm.
and I spent 5 years at Ohio State. So like I'm literally telling you, like the education system does not teach us practical application, things that you're going to need to know when you get into the world. Like, do you rent an apartment or do you buy an apartment?
Mhm.
How much down should you put on a property? Like little things that like we run across every day that just aren't taught. So once I learned all these things and I learned this is the way the world works and this is how you can level yourself up very
Yeah.
easily. Um, I'll give you an example. So one thing that I hear all the time, this is funny. So when I first got into financial planning, I used to hear this all the time. Um, People in college would say, "Oh, like, why don't you have a credit card?" And I would be like, "Well, A, because I had bad credit at the time, and B, because like nobody should give me a credit card when I'm 21 years old." But what I always heard was, "Well, you want to open up a credit card and max it out and then pay it off every month." That was like the thing floating around back in like the early 2000s, like 2006 to 2012, and that would help you build your credit. That is a huge misconception. So like that's not how credit works. And I've learned this being in the financial planning industry
Yeah.
and dealing with credit and watching my own credit go from a 5 something to an 850 over the last handful of years. And so how credit actually works, just to give you some context, is the credit bureaus, they measure your credit score based on the amount of credit you have extended to you versus your amount of utilization.
Mhm. Your ratio.
Your ratio. So this is something that they will not teach you in school, but this is something everybody should know. So if you go out and so I always tell people open up as many lines of credit as you possibly can, but keep your overall balance as low as possible because your utilization versus amount extended to you is going to boost your score more than if you had one credit card for $500 and you max it out every month and pay it off.
What's the ratio that you recommend to your
Well,
clients?
as little as possible,
Really?
as little as humanly possible. But
It's like 5%.
well, yeah, but if you can, well, the rule of thumb actually is less than, I mean, the rule economically, if you look at Monte Carlo simulators, is 30. Once you start to get above 30 from a debt service perspective, the scales kind of tip negatively. But and mortgage underwriters will go all the way up to like 45, 46. Some will even go up to 50. But really, like on a credit card perspective, you want to be as low as humanly possible. You want to have as many lines of credit extended to you as possible. And that's going to boost your score more than if you have one credit card that's $500 and you're maxing it out every month and then paying it off.
Mhm.
That's actually not impacting your score in a positive manner. It's keeping it the same. So I started to learn all these tips and tricks as I was going through it myself. And I just started using it, and then I started to use it to climb. Then 2015 through 20, that's when things kind of took off for me. 2020, they got really good. And then the last couple of years, it's been more like adding pieces into place and not, I don't want to say stepping back, but um, taking on more of a CEO role rather than being a producer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What changed in 2015 that really made things take off? Because by that point, how long have you been in the industry? You said
13, so only like 3 years in. So like 15, 16 is
so
what things.
3 years in, you're gaining traction. You're kind of getting out of rock bottom, like you said. What happened in 2015 that things really started taking off for you?
I started to practice what I preached. So I started to I had a really, really close friend that was buying a lot of real estate in Columbus. I started to buy real estate myself. I got obsessed with it.
Mhm.
And that was kind of what snowballed. But like a lot of financial planners, a lot of people that are in the financial services industry, they talk a big game, but they don't actually have the balance sheet to back it up. And so I pride myself on, and I full transparency. I show, if my clients are like, hey, what are you in? What are you invested in? What does your portfolio look like? I show them. I go, here's what my portfolio looks like because I
Mhm.
want you to see it because I'm investing my money alongside you. I want to have the exact same exposure to equities, to real estate,
Yeah.
to crypto ETFs, to mutual funds, to private placements, to whatever it is that you're investing in. I want my money to look identical to yours. If I'm telling you to do it, I should be doing it myself. Too many people in the industry don't practice what they preach. So at the time, my business really started to take off because I started to market myself as a subject matter expert, somebody that was actually doing what I said I was going to be doing versus somebody who was just showing up and trying to collect a check and sell you some stuff.
Yeah. So that really helped you take off.
Yeah.
You grow like probably I'm assuming hit capacity of like what you can personally do like in terms of managing. So you have to like now bring in a support system to help
Yeah.
you out, which is like really what your focus is on now.
Yes. So we in 2016 we also started an education platform.
Mm.
So in 2016 we started a separate business, an education platform, and so we offer education for real estate agents, CPAs, attorneys, and physicians across a handful of states.
Mhm.
And that was so we at first we started doing them in person, and in 2019 we moved it to a virtual platform.
Mm.
So about 6 years ago, we started doing it virtually, and I think that's really, like, kind of the biggest tipping point for our business. That's when we really went to the next level. Yeah, so, I mean, the education thing has always been what feeds our business, and then our business itself is, works through that education platform.
So you have like basically it's not even in the same name or business. It's just its own separate. And is that like a free educational platform? Is it?
It is. It's all free.
Okay, so
All
it's
free.
really just providing value, building an audience, and then that happens to turn into your
Correct.
financial planning
Yep.
business.
So, you're right, I did. I hit capacity. 2000, I think, 17, I hired my mother in 2016. I hired my first employee who's now my chief operating officer, Ryan Miller. I hired him in 2017, and he's been with me for 8 years now. And I hired him because I had too many cases on my desk every single day and I couldn't get to them. And people were like calling me up, like, hey, dude, are you going to move this for me? Hey, are you going to help me out with X? Are you going to help me out with Y? And I couldn't get to it. So I was like, I need somebody to just take this crap off my desk. So I hired him. We built a partnership. We started building our business. We hired our third leg to our stool in 2018. Then we truly went off on our own and went independent in 2019, right before the pandemic hit.
Mhm.
The pandemic hit in 2020. I got engaged. I had a baby, moved houses, and started our own completely separate independent RIA in 2020. And that all happened kind of at the same time
During COVID.
literally during the pandemic. So like, and you know, it was a crazy time for us. So that all happened. I was supposed to get married, had to cancel a wedding 3 times.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then kind of the rest was history.
So, what are your goals now? So you're as you're building the support system, is your goal, because I know we talked a little bit about this, you're valuing, like, especially this year, the freedom that you have. Like, if you want to go with your wife on a Friday coffee or whatever it is, like, that's what you value.
Yeah.
Is that your end goal, or are you really looking to, like, okay, I'm going to stabilize this and then I'm going to take it to the moon, take it nationwide? Like, what's your goal specifically that you're like striving for?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of things right now. So, like, one is obviously, like, I've got 3 kids under the age of 5. So I've got a son that's turning 5 next week. I have a daughter that'll be 4 in July, and I have a daughter that'll be 2 in June. And so, like, again, I didn't have a father growing up, so, like, my number one goal in life is to be present for my children.
Mm.
Like, anything I do, it's always, my wife, my kids first. Everything else comes second to it. So, like, my ultimate goal is to just be able to be there and give them the experiences that I didn't have as a child growing up, because I didn't have an active father in my life.
Mhm.
So that is my number one goal. This time of my life is the first. So, like, I hired 6 people in December of this past year. And this, like, just literally this last quarter, so January through March, is the first quarter in 13, almost 14 years where I've actually felt like I could take a step back and
Mm.
be able to come. Like, today, to give you an example, like, my normal Friday would be like meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting until 5 o'clock. Today, my schedule is, I had my team meeting in the morning at 9. I went to the gym and worked out with my personal trainer at 5:30 in the morning. Came home, hung out with my kids from 6:30 to 8. Picked up donuts for the office, coffee for the office. Got there at 8:30. Had meetings from 8:45 until 10. Went and saw my attorney to sign some docs for a piece of property that we bought to move it into an LLC. And then after that, went and met my wife for a coffee date. Now I'm here with you. After this, I'm going to have an energy healer, a Reiki healer, help me out for an hour and a half, and then I get to go play golf with my buddy this afternoon at 3:30 at my country club. So, if you asked me 5 years ago, like, what is my vision for my life? Like,
That's
what
what it
I'm
is.
what I'm living today is exactly what I've always envisioned, wanted to be able to do, and the machines still run, right?
Mhm.
So,
Congratulations, that's a big accomplishment.
yeah, thank you so much. So for me, like, I'm living my own version of the dream. As far as the business is concerned, I'm not slowing down. Now, I know my partner Ryan's gonna listen to this and he's gonna be freaked out. He's gonna be like, because he's enjoying life too. But my vision is much bigger. So, like, right now with the education platform that we've really taken off, my goal is to scale this and white label and package this out and eventually sell this to advisors. So, like, we want to build a lead portal for advisors so that we can guarantee them 20 appointments every single week on their books without doing anything. So,
Sounds like what Dave Ramsey has, where he's like building out the whole audience, and then he has those trusted partners.
exactly. So, yeah, so we're trying to take it bigger. So, like, we've struck some partnerships on the social media side. We're starting to get bigger into YouTube and getting back into Instagram, Facebook. I actually took a break for a while from social media. I haven't been on it since October of last year,
Oh, really?
but I'm just getting ready to fire it all back up and turn it back on. But we've been working on a lot of stuff in the background. And so the goal is really kind of take it nationwide, like, have the financial planning practice, keep building that up, get it to like 50 to 60 advisors full time. Right now, I think we're at 12. And long term, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have the education platform as a sellable asset to
Mhm.
other advisors across the nation and be filling their calendars, helping them get in front of people. So, what a lot of people don't realize is America is underwater. We have a retirement planning crisis. The average American household family of 2 with 2 kids enters retirement with just shy of $50,000 in their retirement savings.
Really?
Yeah, so most people are dependent on Social Security. Social Security, we have 10,000 baby boomers every single day calling up Social Security and saying, "Hey, I want to turn my benefits on." So we have a aging population that is solely dependent on Social Security and a lot of people that have not saved, planned, done anything for their future whatsoever. So we have a huge problem. 94% of Americans, this is from $1 Million Round Table, 94% of Americans do not have an active financial planner or somebody, a coach in their corner. 94. So there's only 6% of Americans that are utilizing guys like me. So there's a massive opportunity. There's a lot of money in motion. There's a lot of things happening. So my opinion is the sky is truly the limit. We could package this up and, start to sell this to other people that want to get into our industry, but are struggling with, how do I get going? Because our industry is one of the few industries, like, real estate. The reason why I love real estate so much is it's simple. And honestly, financial planning is very simple. However, people in our industry complicate it. They make it so difficult. There's so many forms, there's so many fees, there's so many this, there's so much that. It's like, at the end of the day, it's very similar to a real estate transaction.
How do you make it simple? Like, I have never worked with a financial planner, so this would be a good person for me to ask. Like, I can imagine it's kind of like working with an attorney. You got a bunch of paperwork,
Yeah.
so many options. Do you want to grow? Do you want to preserve?
Yeah.
And what am I actually being charged for? What am I gonna?
Yep.
What's going on? Where's my money going? How do you make it simple?
So the best way to simplify it, so when you start taking courses for the CFP, Certified Financial Planner courses, they break it down into 4 main parts. They talk about retirement planning, they talk about debt management, they talk about savings, and then the foundation, which is protection. So if you just focus on those 4 things, and it doesn't matter what vehicles you have, it doesn't matter what where the capital is going. If you just focus on those 4 main areas, protect the foundation, save short, mid, and long-term capital, pay off your debts, and put away capital for retirement, whether it be in real estate, private equity, cryptocurrency, the stock market, whatever your poison is. If you diversify your investments and invest regularly, long-term, you'll have a boatload of cash at the end of the day. So what we do is we keep it simple for people. We break it down into those 4 main areas, and that's what we focus all of our energy and all of our attention on. And all the other stuff is just ancillary. It's all things that we, add in on the side. But the main piece of everything that we do is focused on those 4 core areas.
Interesting. So I guess a hard question would be like, if it is that simple, why don't people do it?
It's just like working out. So literally, I hate to say this, I hired a personal trainer. I go to the gym every morning, but when I go there, I'll do a workout or 2, and then I stop because I'm tired or I don't want to do the next rep or whatever. So I hire a personal trainer to push me to make sure that I'm dripping sweat. It's the exact same thing with money. It's so easy for you when you get your paycheck
To be lenient.
to say, you know what, I'm going to save. Well, I really want that shirt. Oh, that Instagram ad just popped up. Boom, in my cart. So unfortunately, we live in a society where, my phone's over there, but we live in a society where every single person is bombarded constantly. Everything is tracking every move that you make. So it's so much harder to save today than it was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Even though we're making more money than we were then, it's so much harder for people to conceptually actually make that happen. So financial coaches, financial advisors, financial professionals, financial representatives, whatever you want to call it, are paramount to helping you grow, just like a personal trainer. And I always tell people, literally, your financial picture, it's very similar to how you actually, go to the gym. Like, if you're fat and you want to get a 6-pack, you can't go do 10 sit-ups and all of a sudden have a 6-pack. You've got to eat your broccoli. You've got to eat your chicken. It's going to suck for the next 6 months. It is the exact same thing in money or wealth management. As you're growing, as you're climbing, you got to do the blocking and tackling. You got to start small, put capital away, put it to work, invest regularly. You've got to mitigate your debt, your liabilities. You got to make sure the foundation is protected. And eventually, you've got to be able to put money into other things, alternative assets, private equity, private placements, that kind of stuff.
I am curious, because this is a challenge that we kind of face too, where you're essentially in the business of rewiring people's habits.
Yep.
And you're trying to get them to change their lifestyle.
Yeah.
We create content, we help people do marketing, and it's not that video or building your brand online is that complicated. It's just the accountability of consistently doing it, putting in the reps. So what do you do to help people buy into, I need to do this for the long run and I need to stick to it? Otherwise, if you do it for 3 months and you stop it, you might as well not have started in the first place.
So we have a series of courses that we've built for our clients called Financial Home Building, and we help them out. We give them very small, bite-sized things to do that they can start with today that don't affect their lifestyle in a negative manner. So we put them on those programs. We get them going. We show them that accountability is not that hard, and then we take it to the next level. We have check-ins with them, just like your workout coach would. we give you the directives, we tell you what to do, we stand there and watch you do it.
Yeah.
And then we actually give you measurable results. We say, okay, here's where you were when we started, here's where you're at today. Are we down or are we up? If we're down, what are we doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? If both of us are off base, then we're probably not the right fit for one another. If we're up, great. Something's working. Let's start to amplify that. And we start to put more capital to work and things of that nature. So but yeah, it's a never ending, evolving.
So you basically break it down into such simple steps that at the beginning it feels easy for them, but it's just to build that repetitive consistency.
Correct.
Interesting. So if someone wanted to reach out to your team, like what would be the best way for them to reach out? And I guess more specifically, what is the best kind of person that is best fit for working with you guys?
Yeah. So what I would tell you is two things. So if they want to reach out to us, I'll leave you with my contact information.
You will include in the link below.
Yeah, included in the link below. We're in the process of doing a rebrand right now. We're doing a doing business as and rebranding our stuff. So we'll have a new website up and everything here soon. We're aggregating a couple businesses into one. So our businesses have been separate. We have a bank consulting business, a traditional wealth business, then an alternative assets business that we're piling into one right now. But they can get a hold of us through our website. I'll leave my email, my cell phone number, so you can put it on there as well. But and then your other question was
What's the best kind of
person? Yep.
Yeah.
Best kind of customers. Honestly, like we're not like, your UBSs or your Merrill Lynch's or Morgan Stanley's where we have like a bare minimum. Like you gotta have 100K to have a conversation with us. Like I look at it like this. We have advisors that are newer in the business. We have senior level advisors that they only want to take on a certain type of clientele. We work with anybody that's just starting out, that's just looking for an accountability partner. We work with anybody that wants to be coached on finances, anybody that wants to learn, hey, here's where I'm at today, because I've been there. And so like, we don't want to discriminate. We don't want to exclude. Hey, if you want to learn and you are going to listen to what we tell you and you're coachable and you've got capital to put to work or you've got capital to pay down debt and do those kinds of things, we want to work with you. So we will take on, anybody, obviously. They just got to be willing to do the work.
It's really, as long as they put in the work, you're willing to put in the work.
We will lead a horse to water. We can't make them drink.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, thank you so much for your time. If you guys have any questions or want to reach out to Eddie and his team, the information will be in the link. And I'm incredibly excited for the events that we have coming up. We have some things planned. So thank you so much.
Hey, thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.